I meant to listen to a podcast before this, so I knew what it was like. So I guess I'm admitting to everyone that I don't think I've ever. Sorry, every fur. I didn't mean to offend any fur out there. I just inadvertently, I can talk, inadvertently admitted that this pup has never heard a podcast. Oh my cow.
This is Bearly Furcasting, featuring Taebyn, an Injured Nerves audio production. And that's a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about. So, Taebyn, this is
Yes.
welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to our debut recording of
Yes.
the Bearly Furcasting featuring Taebyn.
Hi.
And we are going to be talking about various subjects. And so first, a little stuff about us. So I'm Bearly Normal.
Hi. And my name is hi. My name is Taebyn, and I'm a pup. Bark, bark. If you've never met me, then I'm sorry that I haven't hugged you yet.
Well, there you go. Because a Taebyn hug is the most bestest hug in the world.
You know, I've had folks tell me that, and that's just amazing and wonderful. And thank you much for that, or something.
Yes. One should always get a Taebyn hug whenever one can. So one of the things that we need to talk about is who we are and what we do. So, like I said, I'm Bearly Normal, and you are Taebyn. So one of the first things that we need to get out in the open is that everybody seems to think that when we go to cons together, that we're married.
I've heard people say that, yes.
Yeah. And while we're both married, we're not married to each other.
So I guess they got it half right.
True.
They're married. Yeah. And so
we are married, but not to each other.
Yes.
So Taebyn, how long have we known each other? Well, let's see. I've known you for as long as you've been around, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that you were there when I was born, right? So that was what, like 4 years ago, I think?
4 years ago. Yeah. That was, so I've known you since the beginning.
The beginning.
So
oh, my fluff.
I know.
Is that exciting?
You were such a cute little pup when you came out. It was like,
and now I'm a big pup. Oh.
Now you're a big pup, but you're still a pup.
I'm still a pup. I'm
still a pup. So let's talk about why we're doing a podcast.
Okay, let's do that.
Yes, we're doing a podcast because, well, we can't get together because of this COVID-19 thing.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible.
Although I think I remember at FC this year, I think you mentioned this idea, and I thought it was a great idea. And then this COVID craziness thing happened, and that just provided a pretty great opportunity to, let's just get this podcast show thingy on the road.
That's right. Let's get this podcast on the road. So what are you doing to stay safe in this COVID world?
Well, I stay in my house quite often, and every now and then I'll get out and run around without a leash. I must admit, I'm a bit of a naughty
dangerous.
pup, but I know, but it's so free and nice, and there's squirrels and things, and they're out there. But for the most part, I stay in my little housey, and I run around the coffee table sometimes, and sometimes I'll chase my tail, and I still haven't caught it, but I'm working up to it. Being in the housey all this time provides many opportunities to work on my tail catching skills.
And yet you have not caught it yet.
I haven't. So there's still skills in development. That's true.
And what are you going to do with your tail if and when you ever catch it?
Oh, wow. I don't know. That's an amazing question. I hadn't got that far. I guess we'll just see what happens if and when I ever get there. That'll be that's an exciting thing to think about.
Well, for those people in furs that are listening, because there are people and there are furs, but for all of those that are listening, stay tuned and we'll check in every week to see if Taebyn has caught his tail.
This is an exciting journey that's unfolding. Yeah. This is the beginning. The
beginning of the Chase the Tail pod. Okay. So when you go out without your leash, are you at least practicing safe distancing and wearing a mask and gloves and all that other stuff? I'm guessing then when you go up to another fur, you sniff their butt from 6 feet away?
I I actually avoid all kinds of anything like that, in fact. So
Okay.
I don't see any fur or any person or anything. I might see a squirrel, as I mentioned. Sometimes I might chase a squirrel, but from 6 feet away, definitely.
Okay. So the squirrel
Yeah,
stays 6 feet away, and you chase him, and everything's fine. That's good.
and
That's good.
everything's fine. And it's actually not that hard to do because squirrels are really fast and faster than this pup. So the 6 feet turns into 15 feet pretty quickly.
That's good. That's good. 15 is good. That's much better. But we don't know for certain that squirrels have COVID.
Dun dun dun.
They might have acorn vid. Or I don't know.
I think you're onto something there,
Yeah, it could
actually.
be. So, what else has been going on, Taben? Did you watch any television this week?
If I were chasing a squirrel, I would be watching a acorn vid. That was,
An acorn
you see what I
video. I saw where
yeah,
you were going with that. Yeah.
I'm not a smart pup, so I tried, but I failed. But what I have watched, yes, actually, just yesterday I finished the first season of Beastars, and holy cow, good stuff. So if any of you furs haven't seen Beastars yet, this pup highly recommends it. It's really great. And Legoshi, oh my lord, I think I'm in love. Oh my lord. Anyway,
So, what is B stars? Not A stars, but
Beastars. Not
B
A
stars.
stars, but it's Beastars, right? So if you haven't seen it or heard about it, it's an anthropomorphic anime. It's originally Japanese. There's still even Japanese in there, but it's of course in English. It's not subtitled.
Which is hard
It's
to do because the moving of the lips, you can tell that they're speaking Japanese, right?
yeah, well, yes, but actually on that note, they do a pretty good job because since it's anthropomorphic and stuff and animated, you can't really unless you're really paying attention, you can't really tell that they're not speaking English because of their muzz. But definitely, if you pay attention, you can tell that it's not English. It's been described as kind of adult version, I guess you could say, of Zootopia.
Hmm. Okay.
It, it's
Wow.
it's it's really great. And so they've just done one season. I think it's just I think they just got done with it, so they haven't even started on season 2 yet, as far as I know. But it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Is it a Netflix original?
It is. It's Netflix. Is it Netflix original? Probably, but it comes on Netflix
Okay.
streaming.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I must admit that I have watched 2 episodes, the first 2 episodes, and I kind of thought it was very mystical.
Mystical.
Mystical, as in there's magic involved. Or did I just totally misinterpret everything that's going on in that show?
You might misinterpret everything that's going on in that show.
Okay. All right. Well, well, there you go.
I mean, furry life is pretty magical, so maybe you're onto something.
Maybe indeed. Hard to say. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch it again with a different eye. My left one, not
Uh,
my right one.
yeah. Or maybe you'll have to go back and watch it with a different you, not I. But
Not an I, but a you. So I have to watch it with a sheep?
you have to watch it with a sheep and make sure to get the goat in. That you don't want to leave out the goat, but then
Well,
you have to
that's
get the
true.
giraffe involved because you don't want to leave it. Yeah, this is
But
turning into like a steak party. So
wasn't the sheep one of the main characters?
the sheep, there's an alpaca is one of the
Alpaca. Okay.
yeah.
That's kind of a
Well, not but
that's alpaca's kind of a sheep with a long neck, right?
it's yeah, it's like a sheep llama thing. I don't know. I
Okay.
think alpaca is a generic term for sheep llama thing. I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
an ignorant guess.
I know. All I know is that whenever I have to go on a trip, I'll pack a suitcase. So,
Hi.
anyway, hi there. So moving along.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
So this
Moving
is,
along, not like the sheep, but like the cow,
but like
because
the
the cow
cow,
moves along.
the cow does move
The
along.
sheep
Yes,
doesn't move. Okay, that was bad.
yes. But anyway,
I apologize.
you
It was
do.
appalling how. Okay, that was another. Okay,
Okay. Well,
I don't know
if
if
any,
did anyone catch that. Do you think?
I'm sure somebody did. Our one listener,
Or one list. Hi, one listener.
I
Thank you
was.
for listening. We love you for it.
Please leave 5 stars on Apple reviews.
Yeah.
So
So we'll get 100% rating because it's only one listener, and if they do
absolutely, yeah,
stars,
yeah, perfect,
sounds good.
perfect.
Sounds good.
So let's talk about cons since we the cons that actually the day we're recording this, it's Thursday, the 30th of and this would have been day one
Of
of
LFC.
BLFC, and we are
Yeah,
not at BLFC. It's so
we're
sad.
not at LFC. In fact, we would have left yesterday, so we would have been here for 24 hours by now at
Absolutely,
BLFC.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that if you go to a convention, like a poetry convention, there's pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
Pros and cons. So for the one listener out there, did you get pros? It's a poetry convention, and there's pros and cons. Okay, let's move
Okay,
on.
let's
Sorry.
move along. So out of all the cons that you have been to, because
Yes.
I've been to a number with you, but my schedule is such that I can't go to as many cons as you go to, because you're just a pup and that's all you do is you go to
Yep, that's all
cons.
I go to cons. There's no con to that.
Nah, no, there's no downside to that whatsoever. And of all the cons, I'm not going to ask you what is your favorite con or your least favorite con, because that would mean that some cons are not as good as others. But of all the cons you've been to, which would you say you've had the most fun at?
The most fun at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough. So, in this pup's experience, for me, cons, and cons are different for every fur. Some pups too, but some furs, like they like to go to all the panels, or they'll go to a few panels, but they like the dancing, or they like just hanging out with friends, and all kinds of variation in between. And so, con is different to every fur, and um, and their experiences. And of course, every con has themes and just a different atmosphere and a different vibe going on. So, because of that, it's hard to say what con I've had the most fun at, because there's kind of different types of fun, if that makes any sense. Typically, BLFC, I always have a ton of fun at. And FC and TFF, and okay, I'm just going to list all my cons now. So pretty much all my cons, I have like a ton of fun at. Now, if you were to ask me what I've had the least fun at, that I can be more specific, because it turns out it's not because of the con, but FC, not this year but last year. So what was last year? 2019. Yeah, FC 2019 was actually, FC's one of my top favorite cons, and
I know where you're going with this.
I knew you would know exactly where I'm going with this. So the con itself was pretty awesome. In fact, it was more than that. It was pretty possum. But for this pup, it was pretty bad, and I'll tell you why. And you know why, but for the one listener out there, I'll tell you why. So the first few days were great, but what was it? I think Friday, I got sick and lost my voice.
Yes.
And this poor little puppy here was just stuck in his room for, I remember, 15 hours straight. I missed the parade. I missed a lot of things. I remember Bearly, you went out and did stuff without this pup. And I remember you came back one night and I asked, how was the con? And this was the first time you've ever actually been out, like without
Yes.
Taebyn. And I remember you said, I don't know how to con without Taebyn.
That's true. That's true.
Um,
I had to run around and do things, and I didn't know what to do. I had no schedule. I had no. I didn't have to worry about where you were or what you were doing, or
which takes up a lot of the time usually, I know.
it takes up a lot of the time. And so I was walking around taking pictures and doing stuff, and after like an hour, I kind of leaned against the wall, and I was like, now what? Now what?
Because usually at that point, Taebyn is there, so it doesn't. Yeah, so that. And I remember Saturday evening, and I was out Saturday evening, Sunday. Monday, I forget which day we left, but I was out and I still didn't really have a voice, and I had to write on a notepad, and
It was
I
so,
it was
yeah.
so not. It wasn't a very. Um, I did when I was out. I did have a good time, but the lack of talking, Taven not talk. I remember at the next con we were at. I don't remember which one it was. I saw Buddy, and or maybe it was that at FCA. I forgot what, but I ran into Buddy, and you might know Buddy Husky. The quote unquote popular for this, not pop with a shirt. Anyway, I ran into him and I said, yeah, that last con, do you remember FCI? I had no, I don't know if you knew it, but I had no voice and that was horrible. And he's like, yeah, because if Taven can't talk, that's like, what, so Taven has to talk.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Taebyn, a voiceless Taebyn is a quiet Taebyn.
It's a very barkless Taven, that's for
Very,
sure.
very barkless. Yes.
It's like a tree that is shaved because it has no bark. I just did that right there.
They're right. You just made that up on the spot.
On the fluff.
All right. So, okay. So we've talked about the cons. So now let's. I have a question, and I know the answer, but our one listener may not. You realize that's going to be a thing now. We're going to call the one listener the rest of us every time. Yeah. So
dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 we have one listener. He'll come up to us at some con and want our autograph.
Like, you're the one. Well, hi. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, may we take you to dinner, please? One of the things that you are well known for on YouTube is your ability to do math.
Yes, the mathies.
The mathies, or as they say on the island over there, which is great and British, the maths. They put an S
That's
on
right.
the end.
They do that. That's so. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, actually. When I know why they do, because you say mathematics, but you don't.
True.
But it's just math. I mean, it's pet peeve anyway.
You have a pet peeve. I have a pet dog.
Well, my pet peeve. He's pretty fluffy.
Is he?
And maybe he and your doggy would get along very well together. I don't know. Has Doggy ever met a peeve?
I don't know, but
we'll
have to try.
We'll have to try. And if your doggy has gotten mad though before, I'm sure he has, because then he's been peeved off.
True indeed.
I just did that on fluff just now.
Truer words have never been barked. So how is it that a pup that has so much energy and just runs around like crazy all the time knows so much about math?
Well, when you're interested in something very much, if you find something very interesting, you read about it and study it and just, go to the YouTube and watch videos, and maybe you pick up a book or two and start reading about stuff. So it's the same type of thing. And when I'm not running around, in those few seconds I'm not running around, I look into, I have some math books. I'll look at that. Maybe I'll watch some YouTube videos or something. And it's just one of those things where, you like something, you just start reading about it and watching it and doing it. And, I'm a follow your passion kind of pup. I think that if you are interested in something, do it. I mean, don't worry about this career thing and stuff. I mean, eventually you have to have some career type thing. But I truly believe that if you do what you want to do, if you're motivated to do it and learn about it, do it. And then the career or whatever you're going to do will follow you. And even if it doesn't, you're doing something you love, which means you're enriching your life and just making things better for you. And then you start talking to other people about it. And when people, it's been my experience, when people see that you're passionate about something, even if they're not into it, they can appreciate it. And they might actually start getting involved and kind of excited about it too. You just never know. So I just think, if you're interested in something, just go for it and do it and enjoy it. Anyway, that kind of got off the subject of what you asked, but I think you see where how there's a connection there somewhere.
So you know how to read?
I'm a little bit of a reading pup. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I have to admit, I didn't teach you can't really teach yourself how to read. Yeah, I mean, you can't teach yourself how to read from a book. It doesn't really, it's not like an emergent thing where you look at a book for a while and all of a sudden you know how to read. I watched some of the YouTube a little bit, and they told me there's these word things, and I've had some people help me out and stuff. So I'm not the best of readers, but I get by.
Well, and we know you're not the best of readers because of your story time.
Well, yes, that's a very good point. And for the one listener out there, um, go to my YouTube. If you haven't seen my stories and see how bad of a reader I am, go to my YouTube and check out some of my stories. Some are better than others, but it is what it is.
Is there anything you'd like to share with our one listener about math today?
One listener. Okay. I actually have a little bit of a story. It's a well-known story, and it has kind of multiple facets and everything, but I'll tell you the story. It's a piece of history, of math history, and it's a true history. So there's this thing in math called Fermat's theorem. Easily stated, it's a generalization of the Pythagorean theorem, basically, if you know what that is. If you don't, that's fine. The point is there's this thing, this theorem by this mathematician named Fermat. That was his last name. And this was...
Wait a minute. His last name was For Math?
Fermat, sorry. Fermat. But Fermat, that works.
Okay.
Pierre de la Fermat.
Oh, he's a Frenchman. Okay. Ho, ho, ho.
Les vaches. Il faut caresser les vaches, which is French for you must pet the cow.
Okay.
Just a little bit of information in case you were wondering. It's very important. So anyway, this guy from Matt, this was at least 300 years ago, so quite a while ago. He's reading one of his math book, a book by anyway, doesn't matter. It was a math book, and it was about it was a number theory book, basically something about the integers, and that's what this Fermat's theorem was about, actually. And so he jotted down, he came up with this idea, this conjecture that he thinks he actually had a proof of. And so he wrote it down in the margin of this book, and he wrote it down and said, this margin is too small for me to write out the proof of, so I'll do it later. Okay. And that night, he died.
Oh, no.
And actually, subtext, I don't know if it was that night, but the point is, dramatic effect is what that was. The point is, he never wrote it down. Now, so you might think, okay, well, he didn't write something down. Eventually, someone's going to discover it, right? Is it important? It turns out that this was something that baffled mathematicians for 300 years. I mean, someone came across this in the margin and said, oh, this is a really interesting piece of math here that actually could be very useful. I mean, if you know anything about Pythagorean theorem, for example, it's all over the place. I mean, you learn about it in high school, and you can use it for architecture and that stuff. Well, this is kind of a generalization of that. So it could be actually very useful. And if nothing else, mathematically, this was very interesting to the math community. So no one could figure this out. And they're like, he had this proof of this? What is that? This seems impossible. Well, finally, this guy by the name of Andrew Wiles, I think it was 1994, 95, something like that. Actually, the story goes that he spent 7 years in his attic trying to figure this out. And eventually he came up with a proof. And this proof was very indirect. And in the process, he actually found another branch of mathematics in order to prove this. And I've seen the proof. It's 101 pages long.
Oh, my cow.
Oh, my cow, indeed. And it's something that at the time, only, I think the number is 11 people in the world could actually understand the proof. When I looked at it, I didn't even understand the first half of the first sentence. So finally, he proved it. And I think later at some point, he got the Fields Medal or some big medal or something. And anyway, there the story goes. And this is one of the most famous pieces of math history around. And so from Fermat's theorem. Pretty. And really a cool thing about this is it's the actual conjecture, the statement can be, anyone can understand it because it's a statement about integers and people know about integers. So I'm not going to try and explain it now because it would be helpful to have a whiteboard. So it's this really simply stated thing that baffled mathematicians' minds for centuries. And then someone finally proved it and in doing so came up with a whole bunch of deep mathematics. So it's pretty interesting, I think. What do you think, Bearly? What are your thoughts?
Well, I find that fascinating. What is the branch of mathematics that branched off of this guy, the addict. Is it called addict math now?
It should be called addict. By the way, there is actually something called the p-addict numbers, and it has no relation to this.
Has no relation to that. Okay.
But actually, so the actual statement of the theorem is in a branch of math called number theory, which is basically studying properties of the integers and quote unquote extensions of them. I believe it's the theory of elliptic curves actually came out of this, and maybe something else. I don't know the full in depth. I'm actually really interested talking. So thank you for asking, because talking about this is inspiring me to actually look more into this and find more out about what wonderful pieces of math actually came out of all this too.
We're gonna try and keep this first pod short, simply because we really don't know what we're doing yet.
I'm a fluff.
Yes, and our one listener, thank you for listening. Tell your friend. Our one listener has one friend.
Poor one listener. We're so sorry. We hope you get more friends.
We hope you get more friends, one listener. I don't know where I was going with that now. Oh, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you a couple of questions to end out our podcast. I think I'll try and do this each time, and they're just like this or that questions.
Okay.
So you just have to answer, kind of like on your eye doctor, one or two. Okay.
Wait,
so,
can you go back one?
I could go back to one. So let's start with gin or vodka.
I've been told that this vodka thing has been sneaked into my puppy dish before, so I'm going to have to go vodka. I hear it's from Russia.
It might be. Pangolins or binturongs?
Oh, binturongs all the way.
For our one listener, Bearly's a binturong. T-shirts or button down?
T-shirts. Is this a question?
Well, I'm just asking.
Okay, so I guess it is a question.
It is a question. Apple or Android?
Android. Sorry, gotta go Android.
Okay. Volkswagen or Porsche?
I think Porsche. I think.
And some listener or listeners, if we had more than one, may say that they're the same company, but we don't know that for certain. I think they are, but we might be ignorant in that fact.
I am ignorant in that fact.
So let's change that question and say Ford or Chevy.
Ford.
Oh, okay.
I know what a Ford is. I can't afford one, but I know what a Ford is.
And don't mix it up with a Fjord, which is a totally different thing.
That's a totally different.
You cannot drive a Fjord.
No, you can't. You can swim off the shore of one or in one or something.
You might.
I mean,
may the last swim you go on.
Okay, then let's not do that.
Let's not do that. And finally, let's ask the question: universities or colleges?
I think I'll go universities, but with a dash of potentially changing my mind at some point.
I believe that colleges make up universities, or there's colleges within universities, so they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah, a university is composed of several different colleges, and those colleges are composed of departments.
Well, there you go. I'm going to end on a joke because you said composed. So somebody dug up Beethoven and they opened up his casket and he was erasing all his music, and someone said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm decomposing." We're going to end this now, and with our one listener. Thank you very much for our one listener. And
thank you so much, one listener. We love you.
And follow us and leave us lots of stars on the various places. And you can check out Taebyn on various social media, YouTube, and now a podcast. And he has lots of stuff there that you can look at and see. And I have nothing except this, and I live to serve.
Yay, thank you, Bearly. We love you for it.
Hey. Bearly Furcasting is an Injured Nerves studio production. All opinions expressed here are those of Taebyn and Bearly, and neither received any commercial compensation for their opinions. The Furcast is recorded and edited by me, Bearly Normal, aka Mike Began. Opening, interstitial, and closing music by Shane Ivers through silvermansound.com. Taebyn can be reached on social media at TaebynPup on YouTube and Twitter.